Hi everybody, and welcome back to another Marvel Rivals replay review. Today we're going to have a little look at a clip sent in by a viewer. It's actually a duo which want to have their support gameplay reviewed. We're going to be having a little look at Sayonara and Bombarina, like ballerina, I guess. Some cool names there. So we'll have a little look at their review, probably swap between them and view the team fights from different perspectives. They're both currently in Plat, looking to climb up the ranks, so we'll see what it is we can learn from them. We're on Birin T'Challa, which is one of the Wakanda domination maps, so let's get into it. Rocket is one of my favourite heroes currently. He's helped me climb up the ranks into GM, so it's going to be very interesting to offer some advice and see some of the mistakes that are made. And Invisible Woman is one of the newer supports. She's quite strong with her shield, which a lot of people don't realise actually heals. So it'll be interesting to see how often that shield is used, as that tends to be one of the resources that is missed. So starting off, a good little position of the respawn beacon by Rocket. You want to make sure you're getting out as quick as you can. And also, you've got a Winter Soldier on your team. So already right here, we want to be getting that Z out. We can see that our Winter Soldier's in a bit of an aggressive position. We want to make sure that we're giving him the capability to put out as much damage as possible. It's fairly early on. It's around about a 30 to 40 second cooldown. So let's just get that thrown out there. Let's give him the support and see what we can do. With Rocket as well, his heals, the biggest advantage that Rocket has is that his balls obviously fly through the map and can offer healing as they pass through the team. So it's always good to try and imagine his heals as a bit of a pierce and get them flying through as many people as possible at once, and using walls to bounce them back to your team to get some healing. So we still haven't popped out Zed. There we go, we've put it out here. We've used it in more of a defensive position rather than offensive, but it does allow us to make a bit of space for the team. And we drop our ulti, which is nice. I think with the Rocket ult, I like to place it a little bit further forward to encourage the team to push up slightly to gain that aggression. And also, if we pop it here, our team, if they do happen to push up to this part of the map, still get the benefit of this. As you can see, this is where the circle ends. So as soon as we step over that, the team will lose the 40% damage bonus, and it is a massive, massive bonus for that. So we're using our shield, a nice little dodge out of the Moon Knight ulti, and we can see our Psylocke over here is quite low. We know our right clicks aren't going to be able to reach her, so we want to try and get the shield over to if we can. We did just have an option very quickly there. If we just slow it down. So we're trying to keep our strange up, but we can get our shield over to our Psylocke. We do actually get some heals, but we get caught in a Moon Knight ulti and we drop down. If we think about our positioning a bit, if we just rewind it slightly, have a little look. So we could use a pull here. We could use that E as Invisible Woman to pull them down into the hole, which is one of the advantages of this map when playing Invisible Woman, is to try and pull people down into this hole to separate them from their team and give you guys a bit of a number advantage. If they don't have a mobility cooldown or anything like that, they will have to walk over here, hop up, and then they're in a bit of a worse position, but it takes them some time, effectively kind of treating them as someone who's not in the fight. So we can see Cloak and Dagger's ultied and the Moon Knight's come out, so we want to pull back slightly. With our positioning here, Sue, we probably want to be over where the Rocket is. We can still drop some heals onto the Strange. We'll be able to see Moon Knight, and we'll be blocking a lot of the enemy team's vision. So Rocket's really well positioned here. And in fact, it should be Rocket who's having a little look to his to their right, keeping an eye out on the team. And unfortunately, Rocket just walks further forward. It's just a bit too far forward. I think for me as Rocket, I would be up here on the steps. I would then have vision of the right and the left, and I'd be able to see my Psylocke need some heals. I could throw a couple over to her and then turn and carry on healing the Strange. And if we're up on these steps, again, we're just not going to get caught in that Moon Knight ulti. So it's unfortunate that so many of us fall to that Moon Knight ult, but definitely some positioning that we could do to gain the upper hand, to stop the enemy team from seeing us and pump out those heals as quickly as we can. I think as well with Invisible Woman, you're really, really close to your ultimate. So one thing you want to think about when you're playing support is how close am I to my ulti? We're at 92%. I want to make sure I'm in a safe position to farm up my ulti to get some heals onto the Strange or onto the Psylocke. So look, if we just were in that stronger position, we could maybe drop the Sue ult and we could save a couple teammates there. With the Moon Knight ultimate, it is really, really strong at the moment. It does a lot of damage very, very quickly. So if we're just caught in that on any sort of low to medium health, we are just going to drop down. This is a bit of a slightly different video, swapping between the two. I'm trying not to make it too long by swapping between them. But it is hopefully going to be interesting enough to see the differences between the two players. Right there as well, though, from Bumbled Arena. So everyone's on full health, but we use our healing bubble. That's a 11-second cooldown, and it's a really, really strong kill. It's probably my favourite part of Cloak and Dagger's kit in regards to healing somebody. So we're just missing it at the moment. We've escaped the Moon Knight. I think it's a nice use of the Cloak escape. But it's Cloak and Dagger here. We're in the thick of it, we're running around, we're trying to get different angles, when actually we could just be up on these steps. Cloak's got some really nice range on her heals, so we just want to think about our positioning, using this wall here to block cover from the enemy team, and again, keeping that vision of everybody. We hear a Groot ulti go off, and I think we see our Sue's quite low, but what we can do is we can drop our little heal bubble onto the Winter Soldier to keep him up during that ultimate, and then we could use our right clicks to heal Sue. Instead we use the bubble to save ourselves. Fortunately Winter Soldier survives that, and the rest of your team, aka the Psylocke, has got a really good ultimate, giving your team the win in that fight there. Some nice use of the E. We're just spamming our right clicks a little bit. I think with Cloak and Dagger, her reload animation is quite annoying, so a little tip or a little trick is if you double tap left shift, if you swap between Cloak and Dagger form, it actually will reload all of your bullets a lot quicker than the standard reload animation. Good job taking out the Yong. If we watch that fight again from Sue's perspective, and just see if we can see what Sue's up to. So Sue's really well positioned here, getting the heals onto the two in the Groot ulti, so that's where she's put her focus, so really good to see. And again, just pushing forward. We've got our abilities on cooldown, we're starting to use them. And again, we could pull that Groot into the hole. We want to be using that E to reposition to annoy the enemy team. But we get a nice little W on the fight there. So again, Sue's similar to Rocket. Her heals give a piercing, so being up here, we do get some nice vision, but when the fight starts, we're not going to be able to get the most out of our healing, as we'll be able to fire down, and that will only heal one person at a time. Again, want to be using that shield for those quick heals. If someone's in a precarious position, the shield can stop them taking damage, as well as giving them health at the same time. So you can see here how you're struggling to heal two people at once. We just don't have the vision that we need to be in a strong place. Again, could we be using our E to push that Groot down into the hole, or pulling the Cloak into the hole if we were down on the ground? Your friend has popped their Cloak and Dagger healing ulti, so we could be jump down into that. We know we're going to be safe, but the team's getting a really good advantage from the Cloak ulti, having a little bit of a duel with Winter Soldier. And I think in this situation, that's not a fight we want to take. As soon as the Winter Soldier's turned up, I think you use your ability well to push him away. But this is where you turn around and you get out of dodge. You drop down onto the ground, you shout for your fellow healer, which is really nice in a duel queue, that you're in danger, you need some help. It's because you can see Cloak and Dagger's a little bit preoccupied and just misses you. If we watch that fight again from Cloak and Dagger's perspective, so really nice positioning here. Good use of the ultimate, not holding onto it for too long. Covering the map to give your team the advantage. A really nice swap over to Cloak. But this is where we want to be standing in our ulti as Cloak and Dagger, making the most of the free healing and just pumping out the damage in our Cloak form. With the Winter Soldier ulti going off on the enemy team as well. I know we're not at too much of a numbers discrepancy, but right here we've blocked vision from the whole team. We're not able to see. And this Winter Soldier is who I'd be trying to keep alive as much as possible. As we can see, he's got the little marker showing that he's been affected by the Winter Soldier ulti, and if he dies, Winter Soldier's going to get another trigger. So I always try and focus the people who've been Winter Soldier ultied in to stop him from going on a big chain through. We jump up here to try and help out the Moon Knight, to put in some aggression. But a little trick on Cloak and Dagger for you is her bullets bounce off walls. So what we could actually do here is if we fire healing into this wall, it could bounce into the Moon Knight, and we don't need to go up there and put ourselves in a bit of a difficult position. Moon Knight does have his ulti on the enemy team. He could have ulted both of you in that room, got himself a double kill. But instead he does a bit of a magic trick, disappears from both of you. But you drop down nice and quick, you're not staying up there for too long. You're getting some heals out. So a bit unfortunate there on our positioning on Cloak. We walk forward to drop an E on a Groot. He's full health. We're not going to gain too much advantage of that, and we're putting ourselves in a bit of a difficult position by pushing up there. Again, with the Cloak, could we not be a little bit further back here? Keeping the vision of the whole team whilst putting out the heals. Yes, we can't see Moon Knight, but we could always swap to the left a little bit, and then we can see him, move to the right. We can still see the whole team. We're just kind of swapping between Winter Soldier and Moon Knight. Instead, we end up walking forward. We're caught in the Moon Knight ulti, wherever he's sneaking in from, there he is, with the 3 DPS, and 2 of us get dropped, which immediately puts your team at a numbers disadvantage. You're now 4 versus 6, just because we've been a little bit too far forward. Swap over to Sue in the middle of this fight, and go back, watch it from Sue's perspective. So again, we're going back up here again, where again we just can't heal our team, we can't put out any shields, we don't get the benefit of the piercing. Again, our team is kind of dying out of where we can reach them, out of where we can see them, when again, if we just had our positioning over on the right here, using this big wall as natural cover, we could get out some really nice heals and be able to see what's happening in the fight. It's a really nice escape here from Mr. Fantastic. And I noticed that we spot this health pack over here. We're going to get it on our really low health. But there's actually a nice little health pack just there. A little bit closer. So we could just go ahead and pick that one up. The good news is our Cloak comes back, starts pumping some heals on us. And another little tip there for you is if you're getting healed by your healer, you don't need to pick up a health pack. You can give them some ult charge and stop them from taking so long to get there. So I think that is a round we could have won. If we have a little look, 96% to 85. So some slightly better positioning. Look how close we are to the ultimate there. Some bigger heals. We might have been able to get the ult off to win the fight, to hold it, and possibly even win that round. So it's definitely a really close game, with a few little changes that we could have even won. So Cloak and Dagger and Loki is one of me and my friend's favourite combos to play up in the GM ranks. Having 2 Cloak and Dagger ults is ridiculously strong. It's such a strong ultimate at the moment. So it will be interesting to see if the Loki does go ahead and take the Cloak and Dagger ult here, or if they choose to go for somebody else. Some really nice healing here from you, Cloak. You're keeping your backline alive, while your Loki's push forward to keep everyone else up. It's good to see. Can we change angles there a little bit? I'm trying not to be too nitpicky. But we walk forward towards our Loki. If we keep heading down to Loki, we're going to be near our other healer. We're going to have a really nice, if we just click over to Loki, we're going to have really nice vision of the whole fight going on. But we choose to just walk over to the left a little bit. If we walk over to the left, we are putting ourselves in a slightly more vulnerable position, and there's a few seconds where we can't see what's going on in the fight, and we end up losing our Psylocke. So we're now at a disadvantage numbers-wise. We've gone into a bit of slight aggression. Again, as I've mentioned, we've just walked into the fight there, and we're taking some damage. We just put ourselves somewhere dangerous, somewhere where the enemy team are like, oh, Cloak and Dagger, yep, please. So that kind of forces us to jump into the air and drop out the ulti. But I still think it's a really well-timed ult. It's what we should be doing to gain advantage of this first point. But straight away, if we notice what's been done wrong, we're not using our own ulti. We're not standing in the healing, we're using our healing bubble, and we're positioning ourselves away from the team. We've blocked line of sight from our Loki, who isn't able to be healed or anything from you, and they're not healing now because they're trying to heal themselves up in their invisible form. This Loki also could pop a little clone in here, teleport in. Yes, there's an enemy Cloak and Dagger ultimate in there, but the healing outweighs the damage. So you want to make sure you're taking advantage of this ultimate when you put it down, instead of retreating over to a small corner and not using it. This is where you could be in cloak form, popping your E out, blinding the enemy team, and just giving your team more support in that fight. And we find ourselves in a bit of a difficult position. We're having to use our cloak to escape, and our Loki dies, and we have to abandon the fight and run away. If we watch that from Loki's perspective, so Loki's getting some clones out. A really nice thing about Loki in this map is that we can get clones up here. We can put them on the ridges, and it's just a little bit more difficult for the enemy team to shoot them, and it gives us some nice bombing positions from up above. So a little tip there for Loki is just make sure you're using the high ground to put your clones down. It's also a really nice place where you can escape to, as there doesn't tend to be too many enemies up on these high ridges, and you can use your F Loki to get away from a precarious position, to re-angle yourself and get in there. Another little tip for Loki I find as well is shooting at the floor. Because Loki's heals and damage do a burst, it's a little bit easier to hit allies who are jumping around trying to dodge bullets by shooting at the floor. Yes, this Psylocke's up in the air and there's not much we really could have done to save her unless we got the perfect shot, but this Black Panther here, we could be firing down. We use our shift to get some heals, which is nice, but right now we have our ultimate. So I would be thinking, okay, my cloak, my teammate is ulting. I'm going to walk forward. I'm going to get into that Cloak and Dagger ulti. And as soon as she's finished with her ult, I'm going to swap into Cloak and Dagger, use all of Cloak and Dagger's cooldowns, and then get ready to pop my Cloak and Dagger ulti. 2 Cloak and Dagger ultimates back to back is going to help you win a fight, or at least keep your team alive long enough for the Psylocke to get back into the fight as she's coming, to possibly keep yourself alive here, to keep Bomba Lunaria in the fight. Bomba Lunia? Sorry, I'm gonna call you Bomba. To keep Bomba in the fight alive, to keep this Strange alive, and just to keep this point a little bit to stop it from going to the enemy team. But instead we die with our ulti up. The fight is now lost. Our Strange is gonna die. Our Psylocke is running away. And we just have a little bit of a wait between this and our next push. Your team have 3 ultimates now, the enemy team have 2, so we should have an advantage coming in. Let's pop a little clone down here while we're putting out the heals. As you're effectively doubling or tripling your healing by putting clones down. Slightly difficult hero to play into the Moon Knight. As you can see, the Moon Knight is taking full advantage of shooting your clones. So if we just swap over to the Moon Knight and we see his perspective, he's using those as little mini onks. So just a little tip, try and put them behind cover. Fighting the Mr. Fantastic. We do have our shift available. We are quite low health. So we're just waiting on this shift a little bit too long. I'd probably get that out a little bit earlier. Yes, it's a long cooldown. You just want to make sure nobody's dying as you're approaching the point. Again, we could be turning here, looking at our Cloak and Dagger, picking up the Cloak and Dagger ultimate, and getting into that fight. We've got our Black Panther going in, we've got our Psylocke going in, and we actually just lost our Doctor Strange. So don't be afraid to use your ultimate. Get in there. How does Doctor Strange die? I think is actually something I had a comment for the Cloak and Dagger about. So if we just watch this here, we can see our Doctor Strange is low. So could we Loki clone up here and swap to go and give him some advantage? Could we use the Cloak and Dagger to use her cloak ability to hop up here to get her bubble down, to keep this Strange alive? He's your only tank on your team, so he's a really, really key member of the team. As you can see, he gets a health pack, he's got a shield up, he's doing his best to fight. With a little bit of support from either of you, he may be able to survive there, and you don't miss out on your tank in this fight. Instead, on the Loki, it looks like we swap over to the Psylocke ultimate. We're putting out some aggression, but sadly, we do get a kill, which is really nice. We get the Moon Knight. But our team is down a healer, we die out in the open, and the rest of our team is back here struggling with the Cloak and Dagger ulti. Our Cloak's going to ult in. Again, I'd like to see a swap over to Cloak here. Putting your E out on this Winter Soldier, putting the E on the Cloak and Dagger. When you're standing in this ulti, you don't need to be in dagger form. We want to be putting out the aggression. It's up to your team to stand in this ultimate to get healing. This is your opportunity to do some damage. As we can see, we've currently got the lowest damage in the game, apart from Rocket. Lowest damage on our team. Cloak, we want to be putting out the aggression here. Popping our E. So we do end up getting the kill on Winter Soldier, but he could have died a little bit earlier. A good turnaround onto the Moon Knight to give him some heals. Some general heals. Really good protection here of the Punisher. Nice swap over. So good capture of the point here, and that's all off the back of using that aggressive Cloak and Dagger ulti. Some really nice high ground here. I do like to sit up here as Cloak. You do gain an advantage with your long range heals. Again, our positioning, we're putting ourselves somewhere in danger. This is where the enemy team can all run up. So we could still be over here, putting those heals onto the Moon Knight. If we just look, we can still see the Moon Knight this whole time, but we can also see the rest of our team. And we're in a stronger place to not get attacked. We're putting out some aggression, which is just drawing attention to us, while the rest of our team is struggling and dying. So we've got no clue what's happening to the Punisher here, if we watch it from your perspective. We're just trying to put some aggression out. This isn't our job. We don't need to be there, especially on Cloak and Dagger. And by the time we get around the corner, our Punisher has died. So again, just our positioning here, letting us down a little bit. Dropping our healing bubble when we've taken a bit of damage. So we're at 196. We don't need to be using the healing bubble there. We've got a health pack right in front of us. So we could just go ahead and take that health pack, walk back in. Instead, we put our bubble on a bit of a 12-second cooldown. And our team, he might need it. We are running away, which is good. Very quick reactions. We can see our Doctor Strange. So let's make sure we're aiming on our Strange to give him the heals. We've got our bubble, very nice. Got our E, which unfortunately misses on the Strange. You're keeping your friend alive, keeping the Luna alive. Very nice counter ulti on the Cloak. Just negating all of her ultimate. Hopefully we're able to keep the point here. But again, make sure we're standing in our own ulti. We're in Cloak form here. Yep, nice. Little swap at the end, but a little bit quicker. Might have led to her dying just a little bit faster. And let's have a little look at that from Sayonara's perspective. So we've swapped over to Luna now. We've got our guard on Punisher. I'd probably pop a guard on my Moon Knight, as he tends to be a little bit more of a flanking hero. He tends to take the off angles, tend to take the high ground. And I think here we've dropped down in a little bit of panic from the Strange portal. It's a nice reaction to get away from it, but then because we're down here on this little low ground, we can't see the Punisher. He's just getting picked from above, but you've got some nice positioning. But at the moment, who are we supporting? We've lost vision of our Strange. We've lost our guard, so we need to be thinking about who can we get our guard on now. Trying to pump out some heals. Really nice to see you reloading when you've got nothing else going on. So we could put our guard on Doctor Strange here. Again, we kind of use our shift to do some damage instead of healing the Doctor Strange up to full. A nice freeze. And I think the cloak manages to come down and save you from the Winter Soldier here. But again, we're a little bit in no man's land. We're kind of dueling with everybody. So just thinking about, you know, where could we be differently there? Again, we've still not put our guard out on anyone. Always want to be thinking about who we can put our guard on next. If you don't know how the guard works, is it puts 30% extra healing onto someone with the guard if you heal them, or if you put the guard on somebody else and you're healing your tank, it will give 30% of the heals transferred into that person onto the person with the guard. So just keep that in mind. Get that guard out whenever you can, because it's 30% extra healing. So if we're not using it, we're missing out on a big portion of Luna's healing. Again, we still haven't popped it, so Psylocke is probably our best target now that the Punisher's changed. With some really nice positioning from the two supports. Psylocke's going in for some aggression. Mr. Fantastic's coming to challenge you. Miss our freeze, which is okay. I always miss my freezes, so don't worry about it. Again, so we're... Psylocke, she's small. She's difficult to heal. Like, she's got such a tiny model. What we could do here is we could put the guard on her, and we could be healing our Strange. So any healing that we're pumping into the Strange is going to top up this Psylocke nice and quick. Our Strange is in danger. He's at less than 50% health. He should be our focus here. We pop our ulti. We're dancing around in the middle of Moon Knight ulti. I just think we're a little bit unsure where to go. Because our Strange is low, we didn't heal him earlier, that leads to the Strange dying, and that leads to you not committing to running forward with your ulti here. If we look at the circle, we could commit by just running through it, but instead we lose our bonus and we just dance around in the middle. Everybody's dead by the time we get into a position where we can support them. And we just end up losing the fight. The really, really critical fight there, where we could have got the win. If we win that fight, if we gain the numbers advantage, you guys absolutely secure this point and possibly even the round. If we have a little look from Cloak and Dagger's perspective for that fight, so as we mentioned before, really nice positioning. Again, slight bit of object permanence. We know the Punisher was low. We healed him once, but then as soon as he went out of our vision, we just forgot about him. So we could angle ourselves slightly over here, drop some heals down, or even drop down ourselves. As we know the enemy team are over here, they could push into this direction. So just, again, what could I be doing differently? Who could I be healing? We do drop down, which is good, but not to heal Punisher. And we end up on the low ground, which isn't somewhere I like to be on this map. Again, as Cloak and Dagger, could we be over here with the Punisher, gaining that vision of our whole team? Yeah, the Moon Knight ulti was a bit of a rough one, wasn't it, Sayonara? It was just dancing in the middle of it. Whenever I hear the moon haunts you, I run. I run for my life. I get away, and especially when you're taking damage as Luna, just run. Just move in a straight line. Try not dance around in one spot as you're opening yourself up to those big ultimates taking you out. So a little bit unfortunate with the heal bubble there. We end up popping it on the low ground. We could just fire it at the roof. We could fire it at that wall. But if we look at the radius of it, it unfortunately is not connecting to anyone on the team. It just misses. So we've used an 11-second cooldown and we're not gaining anything from that. Again, I like the use of the swap to Cloak, putting out the damage, but while you're doing this, while you're up with your Luna and your Cloak and Dagger, our Strange and our Psylocke are over here. So we should be looking left, looking right, looking left, looking right, trying to keep an eye on our tank. You know Luna's here, you know she's going to be able to heal Moon Knight, so what can we be doing instead to support the rest of the team? So some extra heals out onto these two. Makes the difference here. We just jump back. Going for that aggression on the Mr. Fantastic. But we're just not getting the heals out onto the Strange. He dies. We're caught in a bit of a bad position. And the whole team ends up dropping down. And And then I don't really think we recover from this. You are unfortunate that your Doctor Strange here chooses not to use his portal, which is on cooldown. And you guys just end up running into the point and trickling in a little bit slowly. Yeah, we're standing on the point. We're trying to do our best to make sure the game doesn't end. It's just one of those, unfortunately. So I think a really, really interesting game there. You know, I think you mentioned when you reached out to me that it was a loss, and it was a really quick loss, so you didn't feel that there was much that could be learnt from that. But I think if we review some of the key moments there where we're dying, we're really close to some ultimates where we're not using our ultimates in the correct way. Or using them to gain an advantage in the fight. If we, for example, I think this is probably the biggest moment for me, is when we're on Loki. You mentioned you don't have the most confidence in Loki, but we want to be using this ultimate to steal Cloak and Dagger. Dagger's ulti on the point, and this could have turned the fight for you guys to gain the point at the start. As you can see, your Strange is fighting for his life. Your Psylocke wants to come in. Your Strange is really close to his ultimate as well. So it's very possible that that ulti would have made a really, really big difference. If we just jump to the end and we have a little look at the stats. So we can see your healing was slightly lower that game. And I literally just think your healing is lower because we didn't have the ultimates at the right time. Our ult usage was just slightly lacking. Cloak and Dagger is always going to out-heal you. Her healing is ridiculous. You know, we can see on the other team that the Cloak and Dagger also pumped out 19k, but we're just lacking that little bit of extra heal, and it's just that ultimate usage, Sayonara. So I think if we were to swap it up a little bit there, to use the ultimates a little bit earlier, to use them for healing, to not die in our Lunar ulti, we could turn the tide in that fight there. I hope that was a, you know, comprehensive review of two people at once, given a different perspective of two healers who are in communication with each other. You know, you want to make sure that you're talking about who you're healing. You're both holding slightly different angles whilst also close to each other to gain as much vision as you can of the map and to put out heals onto your tank. It was a Cloak and Dagger and a Loki and a Sue and a little bit of a Rocket review.
And if you've managed to make it this far into the video and want your own replay reviewed, or just some general tips and tricks of climbing up the rank ladder, make sure to come and check me out live on Twitch at Tasty Santa. I'll be on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursday evenings from 17:15 GMT. Also make sure you drop a like, comment and subscribe for any more future videos and guides. See you guys in the next one. Peace.